I've known you for the past few years. We met in Vegas in 2022, and ever since then, we've just had such an amazing relationship where I feel almost guilty every time I talk to you, because I feel like the amount of times that you and your wife have been nothing but kind and humanistic to me and the rest of the AL team makes you realize I gotta do a lot more to make it up. So Thomas Walker-Werth, thank you so much for agreeing to chat. It means a lot. I want to do what I can too to promote your awesome book. Just got this signed copy from you. Reason for Living, a rational approach to finding success, meaning, and happiness. Before we even go ahead, where could people buy a copy?
So this is on Amazon. It's print on demand. So wherever you are in the world, you just order it from your local Amazon and it will be shipped straight to you.
So there are books that are about rationality out there. There are books that are about reason out there. But I bet, while like speaking with a lot of my good friends in the objectivist world, there are certain things that other rational actors get wrong in how they promote it. What makes your analysis much deeper or maybe more thoughtful or different as compared to many of the other works that you've seen out there?
Well, I think what a lot of people do is they start with the intention of being rational, but unwittingly almost partition their minds and apply a rational methodology to some parts of life and not to other parts. This is a problem that goes all the way back to Plato. It's a long-running philosophic issue in our society. It crops up again in Thomas Aquinas. And there's this idea that there are certain areas of life that are the realm of reason and certain areas of life that, in Aquinas' ideas, that were the realm of faith or of religion. And a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to reject faith and religion as a source of meaning, a source of answers to life's questions. And so they kind of default on that other area. So they'll say, okay, I'm not going to look to faith to answer how I should deal with an illness or how I should think about the age of the earth or the origin of the human race or something like that. But they don't apply reason to the other areas of life that were sort of historically not seen as the province of reason, such as relationships, ethical questions. How should I act? How should I treat other people? What should be the guiding purpose of my life? Whom should I not have relationships with? Should I love my parents? Should I marry this person or that? Those sorts of questions. And so in the absence of faith, they tend to just fall back on feelings or on consensus morality, on whatever the culture at large is telling them, which is just Christian ethics, really. It's just the same ethical system that the mainstream Christianity is preaching. So there's a kind of default, I think, in a lot of the atheist movement to apply reason to all those areas of life. You see this with people like Richard Dawkins, very rational in some areas, but very willing to import ethics unquestioned from either Christianity or just that broader Western ethical tradition, yes, without going through the rigorous process of applying reason to it. And what I try and explain in this book is the methodology of reason, how to use reason to look at reality, work out first principles philosophically, and build a consistent rational code of ethics from that.
I remember asking Craig, I think, about this question a few years ago. So speaking of Richard Dawkins, I'm reminded of Craig and I actually live on stage watching Richard Dawkins debate Ayaan Hirsi Ali in New York City. It's this Dissonant Dialogues conference that happened. You might have even seen the clips on YouTube. Ayaan asked a question like, where do we get our system of morality from, or how can we be ethical? And this is where the debate question, I guess, comes in, although I'm not going to be defending it. Rational, secular humanism. That is what Richard Dawkins yelled out loud about. And a lot of people, when you think of atheists, or at least modern atheists in the US, you think of either skeptics or secular humanists, people in that kind of camp. Objectivists have always been, in my opinion, like a shamed, outed cousin in the atheist world, when I never thought that should have been the case. I always thought that objectivists should have been welcome with equal praise in our community. And I think only now that's starting to happen. What gives you frustration with secular humanism, for instance, as an ideology, as a system? And is that frustration, or maybe their frustration with you guys, a reason why there's never been a commingling of conversation until now?
I think that humanism is a really broad concept. So my father identified as humanist. I think I would say that objectivism is a species of humanism. Mm-hmm. It's a philosophy built on the idea that the individual human life is the source of value. The problem with humanism, I think, it's a similar problem that other terms like libertarianism have, that they embrace too much. Yeah. They're too broad. And so humanism can include that kind of individualistic mindset that says each individual's human life is the source of value, or it can include this collectivistic interpretation that says the human race or like humanity as a unit is the source of value, like some kind of supra-individual conception of humanity, which I think you see if you think of Elon Musk talking about trying to back up humanity, like there's some kind of human spirit that needs preserving across the generations.
Transhumanism, I think, would probably be the.
Well, that's
I don't know if that's
more about
his
like augmenting human nature, which is quite a cool concept potentially. But yeah, it's more just collectivism. It's and you can almost include some species of sort of socialism and communism under humanism.
Yes.
But by that interpretation of the concept.
Politically, there have been some alignments in the past.
And likewise, secular is really just a sort of negative concept. It's just the absence of a state religion, essentially. So, it's a good thing, secular humanism, in the sense that it's based on a better standard of value than a mystical, faith-based one, and it's rejecting that dogmatism. So that's great, but it's not precisely defined enough. As for objectivism, the thing is, there's a couple of problems. One is that objectivism just wholesale throws out traditional morality. And that's a little too radical for some people. It says it completely rejects the idea that the purpose of your life is to do good to others, serve others. It doesn't say you shouldn't do good to others. Doing good to others is certainly part of a rational life, but that's not the fundamental essence of your purpose on earth, which is this idea that I think the Western culture has inherited from Christianity and has somehow stuck in our culture through its sort of secular transformation that it's undergone. The essence of morality, the essence of good living, is sacrificing and giving up for others, and so it just rejects that. There's the fact that Rand herself, Ayn Rand, who came up with the philosophy, she was a particular character who had a particular sense of way of speaking, her thick Russian accent, and very no nonsense way of delivering things that works for some people and doesn't for others. And likewise, a lot of the people who've been the key proponents of objectivism since her lifetime, Leonard Peikoff, people like that, they again have a particular way of being that works for some people and doesn't work for others.
Just like in the atheist movement, right? You have different sects.
Well, it's just like Richard Dawkins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Christopher Hitchens, people like that. And actually, Christopher Hitchens was kind of my gateway drug into Rand. Like it was
kind of funny if you think about it, right?
But these are people who just their characters don't work for some people, and so I'm a sort of reserved, polite British guy, and I want to try that more gentle, more tolerant approach to promoting these ideas, not compromising on the ideas, but presenting them in a gentle and friendly and manner that says, look, guys, I want to offer you a way to survive, to flourish and thrive in your own life.
I say this all the time. I say this not only at objectivist events, but also to others that I consider myself kind of like a Hitchens-style firebrand. I think religion is a poison. It is a lie. Religion poisons everything is definitely a phrase I really like to scream off the rooftops, but I know not everybody agrees with me. I know not everybody shares that same sense of emotion towards religion or that way to market kind of an organized atheism or skepticism surrounding religion, which I respect entirely because we're human beings and we all operate differently. I try to tell people we need people on the front lines that are willing to speak that truth in some of the harshest ways possible, because then it gives attention to everybody else who's able to then, in a more polite way, make our arguments marketable to different types of people. And I think in many ways, and this is what I'm trying to tell other groups of atheists, teaming up and linking up with objectivists, finally acknowledging their contributions to Western society, to modern thought, to the fight against faith and unreason, by the way, in many cases, it finally needs to happen. And I think it is finally starting to happen. Craig's rage, understandably so. We just had him here raging against Jordan Peterson and his grifty mindset on that Jubilee debate. It's coming out, and it's being heard more and more.
I love how many parodies there are now of Peterson's sort of evasive style of debating. It just goes to show that people recognize the need for precision to some extent. I think there's definitely an important role for that confrontational approach.
Yes.
There are some people who just need to hear that. The culture at large needs to be constantly reminded of the importance of attacking and criticizing bad ideas. And so when Sam Harris goes on and attacks one particular religion we could name as being the motherlode of bad ideas, like
the religion of peace, right?
Yes,
very
exactly.
Peaceful, amazing religion that is not impacting British society at all.
It's not the sort of thing I want to go around doing. It's not my style, but it's totally valuable and it's a healthy thing. And I like it when comedians and and people like that do that as well. And even if they're attacking something I think is good sometimes, it's important that we have a culture that tolerates and allows that kind of criticism and debate. Otherwise, ideas get trodden down and ultimately resurface in a much uglier form. So that's important. What I'm more interested in doing is recognizing the reality that individual people need time to go on a journey to reason in various forms. There's a lot of people, like I said earlier, who are inclined towards reason, but don't know how to use it or apply it yet. I meet so many people who are fiercely rational or keen to be fiercely rational about issues like climate change or something like COVID, but they don't understand how to apply reason to that issue properly, and much less how to apply it to personal life decisions and things like that. And so my goal is to introduce those fundamental ways of thinking, ways of looking at the world that can start somebody on his or her journey. And if that person is still religious or that person is still in favor of a sort of concept of government that I wouldn't agree with or something like that, I'm not saying I'm accepting that position, but I'm starting their journey towards reject that.
So they don't have to operate in like this banquet.
People don't change overnight. And I don't want to alienate in my work. I don't want to alienate somebody who is religious but on a questioning journey by just attacking their faith straight away. I would rather, attacking the particular things they believe straight away. I would rather work on giving them the tools to do that on their own in their own time. And I think that way, at least, the ultimate goal of my work is to help people create values, like help people become the kind of people who are going to improve the world for me. Who are going to invent technologies, who are going to write amazing works,
because you were going to do all that, but like you realize, you only have so much time in a day, so you got to get others to do it. Yeah,
I'd love to just transform the world into this Star Trek future that I want to live in overnight by myself, but no.
That'd be great. Imagine if there was a replicator.
Yeah, well, there will be. I think if we free up minds enough and empower minds enough. But unfortunately, especially in the United States, but also back home in the UK. We have government education systems that are completely ruining children's minds and enormously shrinking the potential of human beings to do that kind of thing, to create those values and destabilize entrenched systems and transform our world. And so any work I can do that corrects for that. And I've actually written articles about like how to unscrew up your education, like how to repair the damage that school did to your mind. Because I went to a fairly good school, but it still damaged my mind in all kinds of ways. And some of what I've heard from people over here who've gone through government schools in the US is just terrifying in terms of how much it's ruining children's minds. So I want to recreate that spirit of curiosity, that drive to learn and empower people to achieve their potential.
Yeah. Speaking of spirits of curiosity, I'll just slightly shift focus to, I guess, you could say, spirit of love, spirit of connection, crushes, connecting with other people romantically. Regardless if you are a believer or a non-believer, there's right now a big market for dating-related content. Podcasts, shows, discussions about issues in the dating sphere all throughout the Western world. And so much so that you're now having philosophical conversations about religion's role or a lack of religion's role that could possibly lead to issues, whether good or bad, in the dating scene. I know you've talked in the recent past about how you've created a very flourishing life, not only philosophically, but also personally for yourself. And I guess from you could say an atheist point of view, a non-believer's point of view, how would a rational-minded person operating in today's sort of dating sphere navigate it in a way that you think would get yourself in a very flourishing and prosperous relationship with someone who really cares about you? Yeah,
in short, there's several aspects to this, but the overriding theme is you need to break out of the frameworks that everybody else is operating in a few respects. Firstly, most importantly, I think, in your approach to how relationships function in terms of the value exchange between the two people, or whatever form of relationship you want to engage in, how that's working, because we're brought up, again, with this kind of Christian legacy that says that relationships are sacrificial, that you need to give up things, sacrifice for the person you love. And I think people use the word love kind of loosely, and really love is recognizing your highest values in somebody else. When you love somebody, whether it's a romantic partner or a close friend or a family member, whatever it is, if you love somebody, that means that the values that person embodies and lives by and holds are the values that you've chosen to embody in yourself. There's a famous line from The Fountainhead, to be able to say I love you, you first have to be able to say the I. And it means you need to know what you value before you can recognize those values in another person. And so if you feel that way about somebody, then giving things to that person is not a sacrifice. That's serving your values. All too often I see people in relationships where they feel this sense of moral obligation to give up their own values for the other person. There's a value conflict happening where this person's saying, you've got a job you love. It's deeply rewarding to you. Maybe you're a software engineer or whatever. And it's something that deeply matters to you and you want to spend more time doing it. And your significant other's saying, you spend too much time at work. I want more attention to me. I want to go play tennis with you and you don't value tennis or whatever. You get these kinds of conflicts and it's like, so one or both of these people does not actually value the other's flourishing, the other's achievement of his or her values. A proper relationship is a trade. Any relationship, a business relationship, a personal friendship, a romantic relationship, they're all forms of trade. That doesn't mean you're keeping a tally. Like Ayn Rand said, love is a business deal, like a business deal. She didn't mean you literally contract your relationship. She means that it's a value for value trade, but the value is spiritual more than material. Yeah. Spiritual in a secular sense. This is one of those words I think we should try and reclaim from religion. Spiritual is that side of you that's non-physical, your mental, personality, psychological aspects. And we trade spiritual values like companionship, affection, reassurance, support, all those sorts of things. And that goes into the trade. And so occasionally do the practical things like doing the dishes and driving the car and things like that. But it's all part of a value for value trade and you enhance each other's lives. So that's the big thing that I think people need to break out of. One other thing I'll say is when you know what your values are and you are integrated and you've rationally thought through your values, the number of people who you can have a relationship with because of the nature of our society at the moment kind of greatly diminishes because you're really going to struggle to find somebody who is integrated in the same way and can have that kind of value for value relationship with you. So you need to expand where you're looking. You need to get out there and find people who are like you, which means going to places, events, conferences like this one, events where you share other values like art you're interested in, things like that. You'll find like minds, and you need to break out of national boundaries. Yeah. Don't sit inside your little country box that our society these days says we all live in our little national boxes and we don't trade and interact overseas. All my closest friends, bar one, are from other countries. Some are from the US, some are from other countries in Europe, and I found my wife in the US. So, and actually my previous girlfriend was from France as well. So like, you need to be able to break out of that mindset that says you marry within your town or within your city or within your country and be prepared to go.
There's very few pickings these days.
Yeah, you need to be able to go looking for those active minds who are lighting up all over the planet, but they're a very small proportion of the overall population. I want to try and change that, light up more active minds, but for now it's a very limited dating scene.
It is. How about we create a reason-minded dating platform, and
I've thought about it.
You have to date in another country.
I have like entrepreneurial ideas every so often, and one of them was exactly that. Was like a dating platform based more on rational values or on academic interests or something like that.
I was actually saying it more as a joke, but the fact that you're actually having that as an idea, that actually is a really good idea. We should maybe talk about that.
I'm sure somebody's done
even not as president of Atheist Celebrity, I very much like that idea. So if you're ever interested in kicking that back off, I might be.
I did do some work on like branding for that, so I might reactivate it at some point. Woo.
Well, awesome. Well, Thomas, it was so great chatting with you, man.
Yeah.
One of many more to come in the future, dude. So really appreciate it. Highly suggest everybody here picks up a copy of Reason for Living. Go ahead and buy it on Amazon and other places online and offline where found.